the blood moon rising. I remember the day I found it as if it were yesterday. The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the flea market on the outskirts of our quaint little town. The air was thick with dust and the scent of old wood and rusted metal. I wandered through the narrow aisles with my dog, Charlie, scanning the rows of vendors with growing frustration. The farm wasn't doing well this season. Pests, birds, and rodents were tearing through the crops with an almost savage determination. Clara and I had tried everything, scare tactics, traps, sprays, but nothing seemed to keep them away. It was as if the very land itself was rebelling against us. We weren't just facing financial ruin. This was ancestral land, passed down through 7 generations. Losing it would mean losing a piece of ourselves. Clara's patience was wearing thin, though she never showed it. But I saw it in the way she pressed her lips together when the kids weren't looking, or the tightness in her shoulders when we sat down at the kitchen table to try and budget for the week. I was desperate, grasping at straws, literally, trying to find something, anything that might help. I figured maybe this flea market would have something useful, though I didn't know what exactly I was looking for. That's when I saw it. Tucked between a pile of rusted tools, frayed ropes, and battered knickknacks was a scarecrow. It was old, worn out, and tattered. The kind of thing that had been through too many summers and winters, far more than it should have survived. Its burlap face was faded, sun-bleached, and split in places, the frayed edges fluttering in the wind like dead skin peeling from an old wound. Its clothes, a pair of ripped overalls and a threadbare flannel shirt, hung limp from its crooked frame, remnants of an era long forgotten. Despite its ragged appearance, something about it drew me in, and I couldn't look away. Maybe it was the unnatural way it stood out among the clutter. Or maybe it was the way the light seemed to dim around it when I looked at it. I couldn't shake the feeling it was watching me, as if its dark, hollow eyes were tracking my every move. And the crooked smile stretched unnaturally wide, almost up to its ears, as though it knew a secret I didn't. Charlie seemed uneasy too. He sniffed it cautiously before placing his paw on it, almost as if testing whether it was real. I snapped out of my thoughts when a man's voice suddenly cut through the eerie silence. It was the owner. He was a small, hunched figure, standing behind the stall, half hidden in the shadows beneath a wide-brimmed hat. His leathery skin, deeply lined with wrinkles, hinted at a long, hard life. His face remained mostly obscured, his eyes concealed in the shadow of the hat, making it impossible to guess his age. "You're looking for something to keep the birds away, aren't you?" he said, without glancing up, his voice gravelly. I nodded, unsure of how he knew. "This scarecrow," he continued, "it's special. Been in my family for generations. Never failed us." I hesitated. There was something off about the whole situation, but desperation overrode caution. "How much?" I asked. He named a price that was surprisingly low. I paid without haggling, eager to leave. Back at the farm, I set up the scarecrow in the middle of the field. Clara raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. That night, as we sat down for dinner, the atmosphere was lighter. Maybe it was just hope, but it felt like things might turn around. The next morning, I walked out to the field and was stunned. Not a single bird in sight. The crops looked untouched. It was as if the pests had vanished overnight. Days turned into weeks, and the farm flourished. The scarecrow stood silently, its hollow eyes watching over the fields. But as the full moon approached, things began to change. It started with the animals. Charlie refused to go near the fields, growling and barking at the scarecrow from a distance. Then the birds returned, not to the crops, but dead, scattered around the base of the scarecrow, their bodies twisted and broken. Clara grew uneasy. "Something's not right," she said one evening, her eyes fixed on the figure in the field. I tried to dismiss her concerns, but deep down I felt it too. Then came the dreams. I found myself standing in the field under a blood-red moon, the Scarecrow towering over me. Its eyes glowed, and its smile widened impossibly. I was paralyzed, unable to move, as it reached out with straw-filled hands. I woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. The next day, I decided to remove the Scarecrow. As I approached, the air grew cold, and the wind howled through the fields. The Scarecrow seemed to loom larger, its presence oppressive. I reached out to grab it, but my hands froze inches away. An invisible force held me back. I stumbled away, heart pounding. That night, the blood moon rose. The sky turned crimson, casting an eerie glow over the land. Shadows danced, and whispers filled the air. The Scarecrow moved. I watched in horror as it stepped down from its post, its movements jerky and unnatural. It turned towards the house. I ran inside, locking doors and windows. Clara and the kids huddled together, fear etched on their faces. The whispers grew louder, unintelligible chants that seemed to come from everywhere. Then silence. I peeked through the window. The Scarecrow stood at the edge of the field, its eyes glowing, its smile wider than ever. Suddenly it vanished. The next morning, the fields were barren. The crops had withered overnight. The Scarecrow was gone. We packed up and left, abandoning the farm that had been in my family for generations. To this day, I don't know what that Scarecrow was or where it came from, but sometimes, under a blood-red moon, I hear whispers in the wind and see a shadow in the fields, and I know it's still watching.